So welcome everyone. This is the link right here at the bottom for the slide deck. Now, the slide deck is going to be important today because I have put a ton of information into the slide deck for you guys to use and take away. So before we even jump into content today, I would like to make sure that you have access to this slide deck. So I'm just going to put in the chat right now the link. You can literally just put this into any web browser and it will bring you to the slide deck for today. So just copy and paste what I typed in the chat into any of your web browsers and you'll have access to that. And just let us know in the chat space when you have that open, just to make sure you can have access to it. And then we will get things kicked off because we've got a lot to cover today, which is great. So let us know in that chat space when you have my slide deck open. You won't necessarily need to follow along with the slide deck today, but it's just so you have access to it so you can go back at any point because I've put real step-by-step instructions in the slide deck. Good, Ryan says he's got it. It's great.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
Thank
and again,
you,
we'll share
Marianne.
that slide deck out multiple times. It won't be the only time that you'll get that link. We'll reshare it a little bit throughout the presentation. There we are. Awesome. Okay, so who have you got with us today? Well, you've got myself. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining me and the rest of the wonderful Cobblestone team today. So here we're obviously talking about how to get organized with Office 365 for those administrators. I'm just going to make it so that it's me that's on the screen for everyone versus everyone seeing everyone. So you should just see me now and my page. So welcome to that. Welcome to the session today. We are going to be covering a few different topics surrounding Office 365, but before we 100% get things kicked off, we just always like to do a land acknowledgement. So it's very likely today that you're participating and learning from on or near one of our traditional territories here in Canada. So I just want to bring around the fact that I'm presenting from the Mohawk territory. And if you ever want to do this for your school, maybe to learn where your school sits in the on any of our national traditional territories, you can just go to that native-land.ca and that will tell you actually where you are located. So a big thank you to Cobblestone Collective for hosting this session for you today, making this available to you, having this recorded so you can come back and watch it at any point. We're a wonderful little community who we offer pedagogical training across all sorts of different types of tech. So thank you so much for joining us today. And a big thank you to Microsoft Education as well for supporting these sessions and making them free for you guys to attend. So this is our plan for today. In the slide deck, I've got a lot of content. Now, I'm someone that really prefers to do hands-on. So think of this slide deck as kind of your resource document at the end. All the things I'm going to show you today, I'm going to try to show you live so that you can see them and follow along if you choose. And then you can refer back to this slide deck as that resource material after the session. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how do we get to Office 365? What can be on our home page? How do we access the tools? Then we're going to spend a really big chunk of the time today in OneDrive, because that's what we said as well on the description, was how do we actually use our OneDrive? How do we get access to our documents from a bunch of different places? How do we store our files? How do we share our files? And then last but not least, we're going to spend a bit of time around collaborating and sharing. So before we kick off, before I jump straight into our Office 365 homepage, I would just like you to use that conversation space, that little chat space, and let me know if there's one thing that you could walk away from today knowing how to do that you don't know how to do yet. What would that be? Would that be accessing your OneDrive? Would that be actually being able to find your content from anywhere? Will that be being able to share a PowerPoint with many people so that you can go in and have many people have access? What's that one thing that you would like to be able to do at the end of the session today that you don't already know how to do? And I'll let those answers come in. Maybe Charity, you can share some of them as they come in. That's just to make sure that we kind of get everything that you guys would like out of the session as best as we can.
And I also see that Janine has her hand up. So Janine, if you have a question for us, just put that in the chat.
And And if Janine, you didn't mean to, I can lower your hand, and then if it's really a question, you can put it back up. Because we won't be able to hear anybody at all. You guys are always muted, and you cannot unmute just because we have so many people in the session today. So if you have a question, make sure you're using that chat space. So Charity, any of the things that we're seeing so far that people absolutely want to learn how to use? Any tools before we get it kicked off?
Yeah, Deborah is just curious, like when 063 or when 365 and when to use desktop. Janet is just honest and says, I just don't know what I don't know yet, so she's here to learn. Sandra is concerned about finding her content from everywhere. Marianne is about finding groups that are shared by others. And that's what we have so far. If anyone else has anything to add, please go ahead and add that.
It's okay if you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
Or we're going to discover a lot of it today. Okay, so that's a great question. When O365 versus desktop? How do I find groups? How do I get to my content from anywhere? How to make sure that my documents are just to me unless I don't want anybody to see them, and then how to share them when I do want people to see them. So I'm going to really go through all of those details with you today. So the first place that we're going to start is actually on our Office 365 homepage. So the first step I would like everybody to do, now that you already have a web browser open, is actually to sign into Office 365. So in a web browser, I would like you to go to office.com. You may already have signed in once, therefore you might not actually need to sign yourself in, but if you have never signed in before, then you're going to do it with your name at whatever your school email address is. So if I go to sign into mine should look something like this, where I have my Office 365 homepage. And again, the steps to do that, you just simply go to office.com in a browser and you're going to sign in. And once you're signed in, you should get to something that looks like this. So let me know when you are on your homepage. Just say on the homepage, or got it, or I'm there, or wherever it might be, so that I know that you are on the same page as me, because this is where we're going to be spending all of our time today. So again, you're going to go to office.com and you're going to sign in with your school email address. And you can let us know in the chat when you're logged in. It should look something similar to mine. Okay.
Okay, we've got someone, Diane, saying we can see your face, Alex, but I can't see your screen.
So Diane, in the bottom right-hand corner, you should potentially see my little screen if that's the case. If my face is the big thing that you're seeing and then the screen is in the bottom right, just click on my screen and that will then go up into the main section. So let me know if that works, Diane. Let's see. Sharon's got it. Erica's got it. Diane, that worked. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, there we go. So it looks like many people are finding their home page. That's awesome. Worked for me too. Good job, Rajesh. Thank you. Okay, so this is your Office 365 homepage. Now, I'm going to kind of explain it as simply as I possibly can what Office 365 is. So many of us, for many years, have been working with the traditional Office tools, meaning you're used to opening your Outlook on your desktop. You're used to opening PowerPoint or Excel on your desktop. Those are desktop programs. Office 365 is those same programs except offered in the web. So it's the exact same tools, it's just web format. Now, if you have access to the desktop tools, I highly suggest you keep using those. They're a lot more powerful, they have a lot more functionality, but now they can actually connect to the web so you can store your documents there. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean today. So when you hear Office 365, you can just think of the Office programs available in the web. And then when you hear Office, you can kind of think of the programs that are on the desktop, but now they can talk to each other. So that's what makes Office 365 as a whole really interesting, is you don't just have to work in the web, because let's say you're working in a remote school environment, you don't always have access to the internet, sometimes your internet gets down, well, you still need to be able to go into your tools and work. You can do that because you have those desktop applications. So we're going to talk about really the two kind of environments today.
Alex, just to point out that you might also hear the word cloud-based. So Alex is right, where the O365 is on the web. It'll also be called cloud-based. You might hear that from your IT personnel. You might hear that from other technical people. It's in the cloud. And so Alex is right. It's great to be able to access, but of course, sometimes we don't have access to Wi-Fi. So the stability of having everything on your desktop is a good thing.
Exactly. So what do you have here? Well, you have access to the same programs that you're probably very used to. So if you're an administrative role, which most of you are, you're probably extremely comfortable with things like Word and Excel and your Outlook. That's probably where you live most of the time. And you can continue to use those desktop versions because they're actually connected to the web. So Office 365 or Office in the web are just those web-based tools. Now, what I'm going to ask everyone to do, just as a quick kind of test for today, not really a test, but just for you to try it out, is if you're on your Office 365 homepage like me, I would just like you to click the Word program, so the little W there, the blue Word program, and then I'd just like you to start a new blank document. And let me know when you've got that blank document up. So again, you're going to Word in the top left, you're saying new blank document, and it should load up a Word document in the web browser, so that web-based browser, okay? So I see Brigitte has got it, that's great. Marianne as well, that's awesome. Just want you to have a Word document. That's great, Erica as well, Liana, that's awesome. Perfect, okay. Great. Okay. Looks like I'm going to give it a couple more seconds for a few more people there. Looks like most people are able to do it. That's great. Okay, and I'm going to do, while you're getting that, I'm going to do the exact same thing. You do not need to do this step, but I'm just going to open my Word app on my desktop just so that we can see the difference. So the one I'm showing you now is the web-based, and then this is probably the one that most of you are familiar with, which probably looks something like this. It's just the regular Word program. It might be light, it might be dark, but this is also Word, okay? So when I'm in the web, which you all are now, if I were to actually start typing something up here, let's call this like the school supply list for the upcoming year. Okay, this document, I'm working on it in the web, which means it's actually automatically saving. So I do not need to tell the device, you have to go and save this. It does it on its own. And you can see that it's actually called document 1 for most of you probably, or document, and then it says saved. So where is this saving? How does this work? Where is it going? That's what we're going to dive into in depth today. But know that anytime you open any document, whether that's a Word or an Excel or a PowerPoint, if you're working from the web, it is going to save on its own. You do not need to do the file save as. It takes care of it for you. So then you're like, but you know, Alex, that's not practical. I don't want it to be called document 2. I want it to be called school supply list. This doesn't help me. All you have to do is click on the name and it will let you change it. So I can now call this school supply list. So let's just call it supply list for 2021. Not that many 2s, 2021. And if I just do enter, now I've changed the name. So it's the equivalent of doing a file save as and choosing the name. You just have to click on the title. So in the web, everything goes to our storage space automatically. It automatically gets saved. You know that that's not true with your Word on your desktop. If you start a new Word document or a new Excel document, you have to do file save as and tell it where to go. So this will work for any of the Office tools, but now that you guys are in your Word document and you maybe change the title, if you click where we just changed the title, it will tell you the location. So it's saying it's in your account under the Documents folder. So if you click on the title, it'll show you where it is. So it's in your name, and then under the documents. And I'd like you to actually click on that documents little word, and then let me know when you get to a screen that looks something like mine. Okay,
Alex,
so this is showing you where it's saved.
We have a great question from Shireen. Can we use O365 with our personal email, Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, and is it saved in Drive?
Okay, so you can have a personal Office 365 account. It's either at Outlook or at Hotmail. Both of them are linked to Microsoft, but it has nothing to do with your job. So you should never host any school content, any school material, anything that's related to your professional role. Nothing should ever be saved there. But if you want to have your own personal email, work on Word in the web, work on having access to a personal Excel spreadsheet, let's say for like home budgets and stuff like that, absolutely you can use your own personal account. You'll notice that there are some differences, like the amount of storage space that you have is very different on a personal account versus a professional account, but you do have this very, very similar accesses.
And I'll let you all know in regards to, we are a Google Workspace environment in my school division, but we have Office 365 running in the background for all our secretaries, finance department, etc. And so we just sign in just like you did at work. We also have remote learning due to COVID. And so people will sign into their office.com using their professional credentials, or we also have remote access. So just check at your own school sites or your department sites as to how does that work. If you're working from home, how do you sign into your professional accounts?
Exactly. Okay, so let me know how many of you are on the same screen as me. As I said, I was in my Word document. I clicked on the title and I went to that little link that said documents. And Shireen, I see your question about the desktop. I'll get to that when we actually start talking about the kind of saving environment. So everybody on your screen right now, you should have something that looks very similar to this, where you see your name in the top left, and then it's called My Files. Okay, that's what you should be able to see. Okay, awesome. I'll just wait to see, make sure a few more people are here. See if you're able to get to the same screen as I was. And then we should be good. Let's take a look. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now I'm actually just going to hop back here for a second. So what is OneDrive? That's where we are right now. What exactly is OneDrive? So if you think about where your files go at the moment, they go onto either your desktop. If you like to live very dangerously, then you put things on your desktop. So please never save anything to your desktop unless it's a temporary file. If it's not a temporary file, the scariest place to save anything is your desktop, because that means if something physically happens to the computer that you're working on, you can lose everything. So if by accident we're having our coffee in the morning and the coffee goes on the keyboard and the keyboard's connected to the computer and our computer gets ruined, you can absolutely lose everything that's on your device. So we don't want you to have anything on the desktop. So where we are right now, we went to our OneDrive, and it should look something like this, where you see your name in the top and your files. And again, this slide deck is really supposed to be a resource document for you. We're not going to go through everything, but I wanted to give you the access to this document if you need it. So what is OneDrive? It is a storage folder, a storage location that you can access from anywhere. And what I mean by that is, if I actually minimize my computer right now, I just take all of these things down, this is my desktop. If I don't have this computer, I cannot open this Outlook file because it's on this desktop. So if my computer breaks and Charity lends me her computer and I open her computer, I can't get to this because it's not on her computer, it's on mine. So that's what my desktop is. What OneDrive is like, it's like having a virtual desktop that you can take with you wherever you go. So it's a storage space where you can keep any of your documents and you can access them from anywhere. So this is the screen that you should all be on. So I am on my thing called OneDrive. Now really think of OneDrive as a big file folder, like a filing cabinet that you take with you wherever you go. So you will see that that document that you just saved is going to actually be in your OneDrive. There it is. Mine was called Supply List 2021. This website, because we're just on a website, I can get to from any device that I want. So if Charity lends me her computer because mine crashed when I spilled my coffee all over it, I can just open up the web browser on her device and then go in and actually look at this document. So it's not linked to my device, it's linked to me as a person. So anywhere I go, I can always sign into this account and then I can go in and have access to my documents. So instead of saving things to the desktop or maybe saving things in your user, saving things to OneDrive is a really beautiful way of giving yourself access across anywhere that you are at any time. It's really anytime, anywhere access. So by default, when we work in the web, like we saw here, I was working in the web, we can go in and then it automatically saves it directly there. So you don't have to worry when you're starting new documents from that Office 365 homepage. In the web, it automatically goes there. But I'm going to show you now how you can put any document in the web from even your desktop. Okay, so OneDrive is really that storage space that you can have access to anywhere at any time, simply by logging in to office.com and signing in as yourself. You'll have access to all of your documentation, okay? So far so good. If you let me know if you understand what OneDrive is. It's really like having your file folder that you are carrying around in this large virtual backpack wherever you're going. It's just a storage space where everything can be at all times. So let me know if that makes sense to everyone. Okay?
They love your explanations.
Good. Now, you're thinking, oh my goodness, well, what if I have this giant virtual backpack with me? How much can I put in here? Because I'm going to have a lot of stuff. By default, most of your school boards actually have a 1 terabyte limit that is 1,000 gigs. That's like the equivalent of 80 full-length HD movies. It's an extremely large amount of space. Some districts and some school boards have even chosen to make that larger and made it 5 terabytes or 5,000 gigs, just depending on your school division. But minimum for everyone is 1 terabyte, so 1,000 gigs. Then on your personal side, let's say you were going to go in and use your own Hotmail or your own Outlook. I think they give you 15 gigs for free. And then anything else you have to start paying for. Just like if you use iCloud, you have to pay for iCloud. Just like if you use the free 15 gigs on Google Drive, then you have to start paying for your storage in Google Drive. So they give you 15 for free, and then you can go pay for more. But on the school side of things, you get 1,000 gigs of space. So you can really have almost an unlimited amount of documents here, okay? So OneDrive is that virtual filing cabinet that you just carry with you everywhere. Now, many of us, as I said right at the beginning, won't be using this web platform. You're like, Alex, I do everything on my regular Word. I don't want to go into the web. I want to use it here. So you'll see if I do the same exact procedure, if I start writing supply list, let's say this one's for 2022, I don't get that same saving icon. It doesn't tell me that this is going somewhere, and that's because it's not. Because I'm working on the desktop, I need to tell it where to go because I have many different options of where I could put it. So I could stick this on my desktop. I could choose to save this to my downloads folder. I could choose to save this to my pictures folder. I could put it anywhere. So it doesn't automatically know where to save. So you do still need to do file save as when you're working on the desktop, but some of you may never have noticed that you actually have access to your OneDrive right here. So many of us have the habit of going this PC or browse. It'll bring up your file explorer. Off you go and find your folders that you've created, and then you're saving things, and that's just staying on the device. Many of us don't even realize that when you're in Word, you actually see all of your OneDrives here. So I happen to have 2 OneDrives. I have one for my job, and I also have a personal one. So I could choose, you know what, I actually want this one to go in my work OneDrive. And I want it to go under whatever document, and I'm going to call this supply list 2022. So I can still save directly to my OneDrive using my Word application that's on my desktop. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, let's say something physically happens to my computer, or I actually have to work from home because so many of us have been working from home, hybrid, into the office, out of the office. If all of your work is stuck on your office computer, it makes it very hard for you to do your job when you're working from home. But if you put it inside your OneDrive, you can just sign into your OneDrive from home and then have access to all of the information, your attendee list, the allergy list, emergency contacts, any of the things that you might need in your administrative role, you have access to directly from home. So if you would like to give that a try, you absolutely can. I'll give you about 3 minutes just to maybe open up Word on your desktop, create something, write something in your document, and then you go File, Save As, and you should see your OneDrive that says OneDrive and then your school board. So it should maybe do SW, sorry, Wilfrid Laurier School Board, SWLSB, CSDM, EMSB, any of the school boards that you're a part of. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Again, I'll just leave my screen up here, File, Save As, so that you can see. And let us know in the chat space if you're able to start from your Word desktop and then try to save something into your OneDrive. And let us know how that goes. I will just watch the chat. That's why I'm looking over here. I promise I'm not just staring out the window.
It's like me when I'm presenting and I've got my second screen and I'm constantly like this, and people are probably like, she's not even engaged with us. Jeez.
Just let them know that you've got 2 screens. My students are pretty good. Oh, yeah. She's looking over there.
Like, oh, that's who's great. Over there? It's like, no, it's still you guys. Like, I can still see you. Okay, so Marianne's got it. She said that's easy. Helen's got it. That's amazing. So as I said before, what makes this such an advantage is that you can do this at work and then have it at home. So what you're going to do is I'm then going to show you, well, what if you've already got a bunch of stuff on your desktop and then you want to put it there? Let's say you've already started working, you've got like 2-3 years of work, and then you want it to now go to your OneDrive. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay.
Okay, and we've got Deborah who's saying it wasn't working for her. It's asking for the sign-in, and the sign-in doesn't work.
So Deborah, you have to make sure that you're signing in with your whole work email. Now, this is where we get a little bit confusing. So some of you may have to check in with your IT team. We've seen this in a few different places. For example, when I worked for the EMSB, my email that I wrote to all the time was a.lamarcon, but when I actually had to sign into Office, I had a.lamarcon. So I had like 2 different usernames. So you might just need to check with your school board which one you should be signing into. Now, it should be the same email address that you used to sign in when we got to that Office homepage. So if for any reason that's not working, just take a note. You'll have to contact your school board. But as I said, make sure if you see on this list when you go to your file save as, make sure you're choosing the OneDrive that has the name of your school board. You should have one there already. It should say OneDrive and then the name of your school district or your school board. Don't choose the one that just says OneDrive. It might not even have personal, it might just say OneDrive. If you just choose the one that says OneDrive, it will definitely ask you to sign in. you should be using the one that says OneDrive and then the school board name. Okay, just make sure that that's what you're doing. It's another tip as well.
Great, Leanna. Nice to hear that you got in, and thanks, Patricia, for sharing that. And Alex, of course, said the exact same thing. It's always interesting, just the little nuances in order to connect you back to your school board login credentials.
Yeah, it looked like that got Deborah in. That looked like it worked for Leanna as well. So yeah, make sure you're choosing the OneDrive that says your school district. Okay, so what have we seen so far? Just kind of a recap so we know what we've done. We've gone into Office 365. We've signed in. We've created a Word document in the web, which we know automatically saved to our OneDrive. Now we've gone in and opened Word on the desktop where we've had to tell it to save to OneDrive. But now either way, you now know how to create a new document and save it to your drive. So that's the step one. The second thing that's really important is, well, what if you've already got a bunch of stuff in your desktop? Let's say you've already been working for years and things are saved in your desktop and now you want to put them to OneDrive. Well, this is where it gets really important. So come back to your web browser and come into your OneDrive like I am. So your screen should be the same as mine. And I'm just going to talk through what this space actually is. So think about OneDrive, as I said, as that like filing cabinet that's personal to you. Nobody else can see into this filing cabinet. Nobody else has the key. The key is my username and my password. So this belongs to me. So even though, let's say Charity and I, we work for the same school district and Nicole as well, we all have our own filing cabinets. This doesn't mean that we're all working in one common space. So anything that's in this My Files belongs to you. Now you can see most things say private. So when we had a question off the bat, how do I make sure that these things are only for me? By default, they're only for you. No one else can get access to these unless you decide to share them out with someone, and you have to decide to take that. We're going to talk about that in a few moments. But know that your OneDrive belongs to you and only you. No one else can come in here, see anything. Oh, hold on. I've got someone that's unmuted themselves. Hang tight. There we go. We fixed. Thanks, Charity. So know that this just belongs to you. And this is private and only belonging to you. So if you're in that My File space, you'll see that you can have new documents. So you can create new things here. So new Words, new Excels, new PowerPoints, if you choose to. You can also upload documents, meaning I already have something that exists, and now I want to have access to it from here. I want to be able to get to it in my OneDrive. So you can upload files and folders if you choose to. So if you've got a whole bunch of things that already exist, you can just say, okay, I want to upload my daily reports or my daily absences so that I can see them from anywhere. You could put that in there. But what I think is even a better thing to do is I can actually tell my computer, I want to see my OneDrive folder on my computer. I don't want to have to come to the web every day. I don't want to have to sign in. And then what happens on the day where I don't have my internet? Let's say like we have a internet goes down at our school. I don't want to have to rely on just coming into this web to be able to get to my absence list, because what if I don't have access to the internet? That's where this sync button becomes super important. So I'm going to ask you, don't follow along, just watch my screen, and then I'm going to give you the instructions on how to do this. And they're also found in the PowerPoint presentation. So you can go back, you have all of these step by step. So I'll re-explain myself just to make it clear. Right now, I'm working in Google Chrome. Meaning, if I come into school tomorrow and our internet connection is down, I can't get to Google Chrome to access these documents. And I need to see my absentee list. So I want to give myself another way of accessing these same files. So if I choose sync, if I push this button, which I said don't do, watch me and then you can try. If I press sync, it's going to say, hey, we want to open the OneDrive program. I'm like, yes, please do that. I want this to be connected to my device. So I'm going to let it open OneDrive. And then you're going to see it's going to ask me to sign in because it's saying, we want to put this on the device. Is this really you? It might already have the email address there. It might not. You may have to put your school email, and then you're going to say sign in. And then what it's going to ask you is potentially to put in your password to make sure it really is you, so that no one else can actually get access to your stuff. So I'm going to put my password in. There we go. And it's going to say, okay, this is where we're going to put it. You go, no problem, next. That's no issues whatsoever. Then it asks you, well, Alex, you've already got a lot of stuff. Do you want to keep a backup of your documents and your desktop and your pictures in your OneDrive? So if you guys are that dangerous sort that love to keep your things on your desktop, you might want to back this up in case something happens to your actual physical computer. You've got a copy of everything in your OneDrive just in case. I'm not going to. I don't use my desktop for anything, so I'm just going to skip. I'm just going to go through the process. Yes, thank you so much for setting this up for me. I'm done. And now what you'll notice is that if I open my File Explorer, which is a place that most of you will be really familiar with, now you actually see your little cloud there. Your OneDrive is available to you right here. And there's all those documents, like that supply list I built this morning. So if you feel way more comfortable working on your actual File Explorer, this feels like comfortable territory to you, you can absolutely just have your OneDrive available to you on the desktop. You do not need to rely only on this specific website to be able to bring those documents to you. Now, at the end of today's session, we're going to give you a little feedback survey. Please let us know if just a training on how to sync your OneDrive and get those files properly organized is something that you want. Yes, we're talking about OneDrive today, but we could do a whole hour on just how to sync and move documents. So if that's something that you want, we'll share a little feedback link at the end, and you can give us that feedback in that link just so that you know. So now if I decide, you know, Alex, I want to go open that supply list document from my desktop, I'm going to click on that supply list. It's going to open this up in Word eventually, once it decides. There we go. And if I make a change, like, hey, everyone, this is amazing. I'm learning something new. It will actually be automatically saving because it's saved in my drive. I'm just opening it from my desktop. So now if I come back to the web and I open that same document, you'll see the changes that I just did on my desktop. They're going to actually show in this document, and it's because I'm editing the same piece of paper. So this is how I like to explain to people how OneDrive works. So let's just hang out and wait for this to actually sync. So there we are. School supply list. Hey everyone, this is amazing. If I come back to the web and I do the same thing, you'll notice that this document has the same modifications. So there it is. So the web and the desktop look the same. That's because I'm working on the same piece of paper. So this is how I like to think about OneDrive, and hopefully this will be a little bit, make this a little bit clearer in everyone's mind. So just hang on tight for 1 second. I'm just going to draw a little drawing for you actually so that you can see what I'm talking about. So this is your document. Think about your Word document or Excel document or any document that you're working on. This is stored in the cloud, and the cloud is called OneDrive. So anytime you open it and you make changes, those changes just sync all the time. So we have our document. Then we actually have two ways to get to the same document. One is through one door, which we call the web, and the other way is through the other door, which is your computer. But you'll notice that you're actually going to the same piece of paper no matter what door you open. So I don't want you to think that you have one copy of the document in the web and one copy of the document on your computer. You don't. There's only one document. It's just that you can get to it through the web or through your computer. So if you have a school office, you might have 2 doors to get to the office. Doesn't matter which door you take, you're going into the office, you're going into the classroom. It's the same thing with OneDrive. OneDrive is the only place that it's stored, but you can either get to it through the web or get to it through your computer. So if you make any changes here, they're going to be seen everywhere because you're always going back to that OneDrive. Okay, so know that that is how the platform works. So hopefully that kind of clears up what's happening. So that OneDrive space is really critical. It's the place that you can get to your files from anywhere. And anything that you now change, whether that's on the desktop or anything that you change on the web, it is going to be the same piece of paper. See, I just drew on the web and now I can see it here. So it's really the same piece of paper. So those are your OneDrive files. And again, if you want to see your documents from your desktop, being able to come right through here, you need to push that sync button and do that initial connection so that you can then start to see your OneDrive directly accessible to you right here. So any questions so far for anything to do with OneDrive? I'm going to take like a 2 or 3 minute pause before I show you the last thing of today, but let me know if there's anything else. Can I create a new document and add it in Drive to the desktop and it will be in OneDrive? So Shireen, when you create a brand new document, I'll do the same thing. Let's say I go File, New Document in Word, for example. I have to tell it where to go. So I have to say File, Save As, and put it directly in OneDrive. And that way, I'll do this, let's say this like document, let's call this like Alex's school list. I'm telling it to go into the OneDrive. Now I hit save. So I know that it's in the cloud, it's in OneDrive. Now if I open up my web browser, I don't have to resync. I never have to resync. It's just as long as I'm saving to that centralized drive, we'll see it everywhere. So now there's that Alex's school list from the web. If I open up my same folder on my desktop, there's Alex's school list on my desktop. So it always takes care of the syncing for me. I never have to push this sync button more than once. You push it once it's synced down, it'll consistently take care of making sure your documents are up to date.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Can you just go back to your desktop one and just show everyone the little symbols when it's, or not that one, where your files were, sorry.
Sure.
Your file manager. Yeah, and under status, you'll just show everyone how they can see how it's syncing or it's in the cloud, those little symbols there.
I'm gonna take a picture so I can actually put this on a Word document and then blow it up so we can all see a little bit better, because I know that the symbols are tiny on the actual Word thing, and I can't make them bigger. Okay, there we go. So move over a little document, or not. Hang tight. I can do it somewhere else. This is why this is so helpful to have 75 different programs, is because we can do what we need wherever we need it. So Charity is right. You have lots of kind of different symbols that show up. Hold on. Let me go take a picture. So you'll see I have like the name of every document, and then I've got these little symbols. Let me just choose space. Thank you. Let me paste this, please. There we are. Okay, so you will see I have all of these funny symbols beside the document. So I've got this cloud, I've got a check mark, I've got a circle, I've got a cloud with this person. All of these mean different things. So this is where we get kind of complicated, but not really. Anything that has a cloud, this is also in the PowerPoint I've shared with you. Anything that's a cloud means if you have no internet, you cannot open it. So if you don't have an internet connection, anything with this blue cloud means you can't get to it while the internet's down. Anything that has a green check mark means if there's no internet, it doesn't matter. You can get to it at any time. And you're going to say, well, Alex, it's in OneDrive. It's saving there. What does it do? It temporarily saves the file to your desktop, and then as soon as the internet gets back, it automatically uploads the changes. So that's that green check mark. The two little arrows going in a circle is a document that's currently being edited. So something that's currently being modified has those two little arrows saying that it's syncing. And then anything that has that little happy little man beside it, that little person, that means it's a document that's shared with someone else. And we'll get into sharing in a second, but it just means that there's more than just you that can see it. So where we saw on the web where it said private, all of these are private except this little one. This one means it's shared. So that's what those symbols mean. Okay. Any other questions that have come up before I go into the last little piece, which is sharing? Or are we okay? Shireen, but all are saved in Drive. Yes. Every single document that you see here is only saved in Drive. I do not have a desktop copy. I do not have a downloaded copy. They are all in Drive. It just means I can open them and I can see them from here. The only thing that syncing does is allows you to see your cloud documents on your desktop. That's the only thing that syncing does. It just means I want to be able to see what I have in the cloud right from my File Explorer because I don't want to have to go through the web every single time. Okay, so this is OneDrive. Now, all I've talked about so far is my files. These belong to me. So these are things that I'm producing in my job for my role. However, what if I am the school secretary and for some reason I have to go on a leave of absence or I'm away or someone replaces me? What do I do? This is much more of a personal space, this OneDrive. If you're creating documents for your school, that should be in a whole separate place. So we talked about this with Charity on Monday. That is what Teams is for. Teams is to host all of the stuff that doesn't actually belong to you. So if Alex is taking the job as school secretary for this year, but then next year Charity takes the job as school secretary, I shouldn't have to download my whole OneDrive and hand that over. We should be working in a space that's for the school. And then whoever is the secretary enters that school environment. So if you would like a training more about that, let us know again. We can do another maybe like Teams round 2 to talk about really how to manage school files. This is really just more for you. It's called OneDrive. Think one person. When you hear Teams, think many people. OneDrive is literally just for you, the things that you should be working on. So again, we'll share the link to that feedback survey. Let us know in there if you say like, yes, please give us a how to manage school documents session. We're more than happy to do that. Okay. So we've got 10 minutes left. I'm just going to talk about one more thing because I know it's a lot today, but we really wanted to kind of give you that fundamental so that the wheels start turning and you kind of understand what you can do. Okay. When you're working in OneDrive, everything that is in this My Files section belongs to uniquely you. It doesn't belong to anyone else. But let's say Charity, myself, and Nicole, we're all going to be building a presentation for best practices, and I would like their help. I don't want to send Charity a copy and Nicole a copy, and for me to have my own copy. We all make changes. They both send their versions back to me, and then I have to go in and start putting them together. Think about if you are looking to send out an Excel spreadsheet with the availability for all the teachers for the best day for the staff meeting. You send an email saying, when would be good for the staff meeting? And then depending on the size of your staff, you get 10 or 50 emails back. You have to read every single one, write down the date for every single person. Then you have to think about, okay, what day works the best for most? No. What we do is we create one Excel spreadsheet and we send it to all the teachers so they can all work on it. It makes so much more sense instead of sending out 50 emails, getting 50 emails back, and then sending 50 more emails to confirm. We just send one email with the document and everybody can work on it. So I can just see all the data really clearly. So how do we do that? Well, once you've got a document inside your Office 365 space, you'll see that you have this wonderful little square with an arrow symbol, meaning share. So if you click that share button, it'll bring up this menu and it will tell you, well, how would you like to share this out? How do you want to send this? And it will give you a few different options. So you can say anyone with the link, literally meaning anybody. Literally anybody in the whole world, by the way, that's what this means. Not like anybody in my school or anybody in my school division or my district. It literally means any human, anybody that can get to the computer. So maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to say anybody that's part of my school division. So anybody with @EMSB or anybody with @Sir Wilfrid Laurier. Maybe that's what you want. Or maybe you want to say actually only a specific group of people that I say can do that. So those are your different options. You can say anybody in the whole world, anybody inside your school district, or specific people. You can allow them to edit if you want them to. So yes, they can make changes, or no, they can't. We can turn that off. And I love this feature. If you don't let them edit, meaning you let them just read it, you can also block them from downloading it. So let's say you've maybe got a bit more sensitive information in there. Let's say you're sharing like the school calendar that's for the staff. And then in that staff, you have all of the staff's personal name and phone number. Maybe you don't want a teacher to walk away with that. You could say, you know what? Anybody in my list of people, I'm going to let you see it, but I don't want you downloading it. And then you hit apply. And it creates a unique link. So this is a link that will allow someone to look at it and not download it. And then you just have to put the name. So if you've got a list of all your teachers, you just type the name of the list and it will put all of them in here. If you have all of the teacher names individually, then you just write all the teacher names individually. So let's, for example, just say, okay, I'm going to share this with this person. This happens to be me. And you'll even get a notification saying, hey, watch out. This person is not part of your school division. Are you sure you want to be sending it to them? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that. This is who needs to see it. I can press send. Now this sends an email to the person saying, hey, you've just been shared this link. So if they're internal inside your school division, this will come to their personal email. And then you'll notice now that this document, that best practices, it's not private anymore. It's shared. It tells me, Alex, you went in and shared with someone. So you know that there's someone else who has access to this. So you know it's shared.
Okay, Alex.
Yeah, Charity.
So the big question that we always get, and Diane just dropped it, can you take a list of emails separated by commas or semicolons and drop it in there?
Yes, you can. And if you have a list that you've already called like my teachers, you can type my teachers and it will look in your contact list and it will drop everybody in there. So you do not need to do or like name by name by name by name. So there you go. Awesome. Okay. Now what that means is you did not send a copy to every person. You sent one document that every single person can change. And they're not changing their own copy. They're changing the thing that you sent them. So if you send them a blank Excel spreadsheet and you ask them to fill it in, don't expect when you click on the Excel spreadsheet next time for it to be blank. Everybody can write in it. So if everyone starts to write on line 1, they'll all just start writing on top of each other. So be careful when you share things out. Know that it's not the same as sending an email attachment where the person gets it and downloads it. You are saying, here is this piece of paper, we can all write on it. So I'll give you an example right now. I'm going to take this document and I'm literally going to say anybody with the link can edit. So I'm actually going to put it in our chat. So if you come to Teams, look in our chat space. I'm going to put this link here. If you click that, which all of you should be able to click, you will all see that we will all be in this document at the same time. So click on that link. It's going to take you to a Word document. We will all see each other. So I'm going to just start typing at the bottom. I'll see when you guys all arrive. There's already some text. So Marianne, I saw Marianne is here. It tells me that Marianne wrote Marianne test. So there she is. You guys should all be able to write here. There we go. Leanna's typing. Someone else is typing. We're all editing the same piece of paper. Okay, so don't think that this document that I sent you 15 minutes ago will look the same after you all write in it. You're all editing my piece of paper. I can see you all here. You'll even see that it says, like, have little pictures of people for wherever you are. So Marianne is here, Jennifer is here, Leanne is here, Roseanne is here. You're all writing on my piece of paper. So it means that we're all collaborating at the same time.
Alex, we have a question from Marianne. Let's say you shared that document, but it was 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Can you go back and check and see who you shared that document with?
Absolutely. So if I'm coming into this document, which I just shared out with you guys, this one called document, if I actually just click on that little shared icon, I just click shared, it'll tell me who has it. So right now there's one link that's giving a bunch of people access. So this link says anybody with the link can edit. Let's say actually I don't want you guys to be able to edit anymore. I don't want you to be able to have editing access. I can just click right beside it and say, actually I want to delete it. So if I just click that X, it'll say, are you sure this will affect anybody that has this link? Yep, like I don't want anybody to edit my document anymore. So now if you guys refresh your page, it'll just disappear. It'll say, sorry, you do not have access. It removes your accesses. So yeah, if you've ever shared it, you just click on the little happy dude beside, you click on the shared word, it will bring up who has access, and then you can get rid of those accesses if you don't want at any point, okay? So we have 1 minute left. Everything I talked about today is in this PowerPoint. How to upload the file, how to create a new file, how to move or copy a file, how to see your version history, how do you open it if you're going from your desktop app, how do you share a file? Everything is already in this PowerPoint slide deck for you. I tried to make it as complete as possible. There are really a whole bunch of resources here for you. I even put extra resources, like if you're just starting with OneDrive, there's a quick start guide, there's a little video training that you can go through. There's also additional help in the Office 365 Training Center, so I put all of those links there for you. So now what? What do we have left? One last thing in our last minute. Here's the link to that feedback form. Not only leave us feedback about how the session was today, but in the comment section, let me know if you would like to have, for example, another session on OneDrive that would be a bit more maybe hands-on of you guys actually going through the process of syncing your OneDrive with me at the same time. And then also, yeah, leave any feedback on how the session was today. There's a support email there for you. There are real people behind this email address. If you email us to ask us a question, we will answer you. So if you get stuck on something, send us an email there. And then last but not least, there's that link again back to the presentation for today. Don't forget that this session has been recorded, so we will be sending you the link to the recording as well after the workshop is over today. So thank you so much to everybody for participating. I really hope that that kind of helped demystify a little bit what Office 365 is, thinking about it as real programs that are connected to this in storage space that you can get to from anywhere. I hope that it's a bit clear what it means now to go through the web and through the desktop. Hopefully that little drawing of my my little doors there is making it clear for everyone. And if you have any questions, we'll hang out for a couple more minutes. You can write those in the chat space, but if not, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you guys have very busy days. Really appreciate that hour, and leave us feedback if you'd like more.